Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's Heritage meeting. I can confirm we do indeed have quorum. Currently absent from the committee is Councillor Glenn, Councillor Oosterhoff, and Jennifer Demeter. We do have some members of the public who are also joining us this afternoon, and with that, I'm happy to turn it over to you, Madam Vice Chair, to get the meeting started.
Good morning. I call this meeting to order. First thing we'll do is the approval of the agenda with the addendum. We need a mover and seconder, please. Moved by Peter Gower.
Through you, Madam Vice Chair. So I can quickly, the addendum is included in the vote for the agenda. So when we issue an addendum, we have to include the agenda at the same time. So by approving the agenda and the addendum, you're approving them together. You can't vote them independently. Thank you.
Okay, so with that clarification, we need a mover and seconder, and we've got Peter as a mover, seconder, and Stevens. Thank you. And I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, I missed that. Could I see that again, please? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. And do I count myself?
Yes.
4. Okay, that's fast. Thank you. And now we need to move ahead with confirmation of minutes. The minutes of the Kingston Heritage Property Committee meeting held Wednesday, January 19th, 2023 be approved. We need any corrections, first of all. Alrighty, we need a mover and seconder, please. Jennifer Demeter, mover, and Peter Gower, seconder. And I'd like to call the vote. All those in favor? That's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? All right, thank you. Delegations, there are none. Briefings, there are none. In business, nothing under pre-consultation or policy development and implementation. And we're going to now move along to Stream 2 permits, approval through delegated authority. And the subject is the application for Ontario Heritage Act approval for 2 to 4 Cataraqui Street. I'd like to ask staff to introduce the application, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this application is at 2 to 4 Cataraqui Street on the south side of the street at the end of Cataraqui Street. It is, of course, the Woolen Mill, which is a large red brick industrial building designed by William Newlands in the 1880s. With multiple rehabilitation and restoration efforts done over the years. You may recall in June of last year, an application was awarded to allow the alteration of existing window opening to accommodate a new door in order to access a deck patio. The deck at the time was considered temporary. What was before the committee today is an application under Section 33 to request approval to convert the deck to a permanent installation for commercial use as part of the River Mill restaurant. The deck was, of course, initially installed as part of, as a temporary measure, as part of the COVID pandemic restrictions to allow space and outdoor dining for patrons. It has proved to be successful and a popular feature to the restaurant, and the owners wish to have that deck approved as a permanent installation. It's on the east side of the building. It's composed of composite decking in a gray tone with black metal railings. The plans have been attached to your agenda, and there's also a letter from the owner of River Mill Restaurant for information. Staff have reviewed the application and received comments from various technical agencies as well as members of this committee. And staff have no concerns with the proposed location, scale, materiality, and color of the new deck. We encourage the use of the black metal railings instead of wood in a simple and narrow pattern, as it would be compatible with the industrial nature of the property and match well with the similar fencing around the property. So with that, Madam Chair, we recommend approval of this application, subject to the conditions that are in your agenda package, as there are no objections from Built Heritage perspective and no concerns from our circulation. Thanks. And I would note that the applicant, Mr. Groot, is in attendance.
Thank you. Is the applicant present, and do they have anything further to add?
Yes, Martin Groot, Avenue Investments. If you could go to a microphone if you have anything further to add. And just
Martin Groot, M-A-A-R-T-E-N, Groot, G-R-O-O-T, Avenue Investments, the applicant and property owner, and I'm the general manager.
Did you have anything you wanted to add to the application?
No, I have nothing to add.
Thank you. All right, we're now ready to take questions from the committee. And just a reminder that questions have to be within the scope of the committee. Any questions? Okay.
Peter has his hand.
Oh, yes, thank you. Peter.
I'm sure this has been looked at, but I presume that this still allows fire and emergency access, as it does block off this particular part of the street. Thanks.
Can we have a response to that, please?
Yes, under one of the conditions for the building permit is that we provide the height of the exit underneath the deck entrance into the building, and provide a description of how the exit is protected from fire. As for the deck being over the road, which is a private road of the building, that is not designated nor ever has been designated a fire lane.
Sorry. Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Does that answer your question, Peter? Okay. Does the public have any questions or comments?
And just through you, Madam Chair, there are no public members in the online viewing gallery presently.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no questions or comments from the public. Are there any more questions or comments? Oh, okay, so we need to make the motion. We need a mover and seconder for that motion. Thank you. Ann Stevens moving and Gunnar Eisler seconding. Thank you. And then any final comments from the committee? Okay, seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, we're moving along to stream 3 permits, approval through council authority, the application for a heritage permit at the address 484 Albert Street and 622 Princess Street. I'd like to ask staff to introduce the application, please.
Through you, Madam Chair. Just to give a quick overview of the application, the subject building is located on the northwestern corner of the intersection of Albert and Princess Street. The property has multiple addresses and currently contains 2 main sections, both in the collegiate Gothic style. This includes a 1.5-story brown brick church building and with a related sanctuary built in 1931 along Princess Street, and a 2-story addition built along Albert Street in 1964, locally known as Vatcher Hall. The application is proposing to deconstruct and then reconstruct Vatcher Hall like for like in terms of scale, location, and design, while salvaging existing heritage features but with higher quality materials and minor modifications, as well as remove the interior ceiling of the church to install new support beams to address snow load concerns related to a previously approved 6-story transitional/supportive housing project. Staff are recommending approval of the application based on the conditions included in the agenda, but I wanted to flag a few notable conditions in this application as well. So all salvaged portions of the Voucher Hall facade interior features will be secured in a climate-controlled facility. The finalized design details of the windows, door, and date stone will be provided to Heritage Planning staff for review and approval prior to installation. The finalized paint color of the steel trusses and support beams will be provided to Heritage staff for review and approval prior to installation. The removed Tudor arch will be replicated like for like and have its year of creation inscribed onto it away from public for legibility purposes. The removed Tudor arch ceiling profile will be documented for archival purposes. All replacement masonry units shall be sourced to match the size and profile of those used in the 1931 church, and any salvage architectural details from the Voucher Hall facade that require recreation shall be sourced to match. Shall be sourced to match as close as possible. And with that, I will return it to you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is the applicant agent present, and do they have anything further to add? Yes, I see the applicant agent. Go ahead, please. Okay. It seems that there is nothing further to add, so we will move along. Are there any questions from the committee? Gunnar?
Just need your microphone, Gunnar.
Madam Chair, the addendum that was issued implies that the involvement of the Heritage Committee is no longer involved beyond the vote of today. Is that correct?
I'm going to refer that to staff, please. All right, Philip?
Through you, Madam Chair, I can provide some insight in this. So our recent change to the Heritage Procedural Bylaw has provided the powers under Part 4 applications that should there be no objections from committee, a majority vote can be passed at committee, staff are supportive, and if the applicant is supportive, then the application can then be delegated to approval to the director. So meaning that if all 3 parties are secure with the application as it is presented, it will basically be skipped in terms of not having to go to council and wait those several extra weeks for approval. So this is only if all 3 parties are in agreement with this application, and this is from the recent update to the Heritage Procedural Bylaw. The wording change in the addendum was simply something that should have been added originally, but was only caught after the fact and is added at this point. It has the same language as the previous application that was heard before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Madam Chair, I've got to ask the question, what is the purpose of this committee? This project is not designed with significant changes in progress or in promise beyond what's described. Furthermore, this project is in trouble anyway. I would suspect that there are many more changes to come, and by removing the committee from this, you have removed a very important tool from the kit to preserve the heritage of the city. I don't think this can be allowed.
Thank you for your comment. Does staff wish to comment further? Oh, yes, I recognize Mr. Conrad.
Hi, I'd just like to, through Madam Chair, I would just like to reiterate Philip's comment that this reduces no authority from the committee. This is if all parties are supportive of the motion, that it moves forward in a more expedited manner. So this is not a reduction of any authority. hope that clarifies.
Thank you. Does that clarify your question, Gunnar?
I have an answer. I don't think it's satisfactory.
Thank
I
you.
believe that this cannot be approved by this committee.
Okay, thank you for your comment. I'd like to ask if the public have any questions or comments at this point in time. Go ahead, please state your name.
Don Taylor. Yes, this is a very good project. My only concern is that the windows, the Vatcher Hall windows on the Albert Street facade are to be replaced. They don't have a large amount of heritage value, but they do have some. Even more so, I think it's good policy that this committee likes to encourage to repair rather than replace. And these, as far as I can tell, these windows can be renovated to be weatherproofed and could probably serve for many more years if they're simply repaired. And it would be much less expensive. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Staff or applicant can reply to the comments or questions from public.
Through you, Madam Chair, I will comment briefly, but then I will defer to the applicant for further information. So my understanding when reviewing the heritage impact statement is that preserving these windows due to the complete deconstruction and reconstruction of the facade is not possible because of building settling and because of the quality of the windows that are there currently. But for more specifics, I will defer to the applicant on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to look to the committee to make the motion. Do we have a mover and seconder? Oh, I guess there's further comments from the committee, isn't there? Sorry. Yes, Jen?
Good morning. I know the windows have been somewhat taken out of our preview to comment. I guess I'm wondering, since this has always been a huge issue with the committee, how, I feel like we're a little bit glossing over the windows and how normally we would look to always repair, and that we'd have someone specifically come out to assess them. And I guess I feel like we're glossing over that part.
Okay, I think we'll go to staff to answer that question, please.
Through you, Madam Chair. You're absolutely right. We would be looking at that normally, but these are not considered period windows. So they're not protected under the window policy in that respect because they're from the 1960s. That being said, to Mr. Taylor's point, they are still sympathetic to the building and its design, but as they're not period windows and the replacement windows will be replicating the design, it is seen as not as much of a concern in this respect, but I do appreciate your comment in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you. And Peter?
Thank you. This is an incredibly complicated project, and those of you that were here on the committee when it came through before will remember all of its details. I would suggest that that change to refer things to the Director of Heritage Services will save an awful lot of small business when, excuse me, when difficulties are found, and there are going to be. We can foresee, we know it will not be straightforward. And all I would hope, Mr. Conrad, is that you will perhaps somehow keep a report going back to the committee of changes which have to be made. I still can't imagine hauling stuff over a church or taking a building apart to get things through it, to put up a building behind without running into incredible number of complications. But I think if we could be kept informed, it would help. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further comments? Yes, Anne?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was thinking similarly to Peter on this one. I'm concerned that the unfortunate loss of funding for this project may make things even more complicated than it already is. You know what it's like when you see a project that starts but goes on, and that would be my concern about this. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gunnar?
Madam Chair, I have a question, and that may follow up in a response. Question is, has the addition to Bachelor Hall that was presented earlier in June been deleted from the project, or is it still there and wrapped up in this motion?
Can someone from staff answer that?
Through you, Madam Chair, absolutely. Gunnar, I'm not 100% understanding your point there, but I believe that this part has already been approved in 2020. So this is the 6-story addition that is behind the building. In this case, the applicants are returning to the committee for consultation because they are amending the project in a way that staff do not see fit the original intent of the approval from 2020. As a result, and as noted in the report, this report only deals with those changes from the 2020 approval and application. The application many times has hyperlinked a direct connection to that application. So if you'd like to review that in full to see the entire 6-story project in more detail, I recommend that's done. But in this case, it is just the changes to the application that are before us for comment today. So the original 6-story addition is not related to this application at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Gunnar.
I understand, therefore, that the addition that was presented in June has been approved under another motion? Yes or no?
Yes. Mr. Pearl.
Through you, Madam Chair, my apologies. Before I can answer that question, I'm unfamiliar of what was approved in June. Would you be able to clarify that, Gunnar? My apologies.
The documents that were presented, I believe, in June included something like a 6 or 8-story addition on top of that hall.
So this could mean either the circulation that asking for comment for this application, or if you're referring to the permit extension by 1 year of the original application, that was a separate matter. So I'm still a little confused about the question. My apologies there.
Okay.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I'm confused. We were presented a document package for the building that included a 6 or 8-story addition on top of Bachelor Hall. And the disposition of that building is my question.
So I did take a quick look back on the June agenda. So the public agenda for June did not contain anything about this project. If you're talking about a pre-circulation of the item that is currently on discussion today, which would have been circulated back in June, a lot of the stuff, including like the 6-story construction that has already been approved by council, is not under discussion at the time because that's already been approved. What staff have brought forward is that there have been significant changes proposed to the church preservation, and I believe also to Vatcher Hall's preservation as well. So that's what's under discussion, not the actual 6-story addition of that was previously approved by council. Thank you.
I believe that this application came to the round table in June, and perhaps that's what we're referring to here. Oh.
If I could, Madam Chair.
Yes.
It might give the committee some comfort to know that this project, while it has a lot of challenges, it's a big monumental thing that has a lot of moving parts. What you're seeing today is actually a recognized change that the owners have to make to accommodate those challenges, and it's coming back to this committee for review. And that's exactly what will happen in the future. If there's yet another change because of an unknown factor, it will come back for us to look at, for you to look at and comment on. The majority of this project was approved some years ago, including the demo of the manse, including the large addition to the back. That was all done in 2020 or so. But this is just those changes because there's a lot of moving parts. So I hope that gives the committee a little comfort, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you very much for that clarification. So what we're looking at is just the exterior, the 1964 edition of Vacher Hall, and points 1A, B, and C, that's all. And then 2, the interior of the 1931 church, A, B, C, D, E, F. So those are the only things we're looking at and approving today. Do we need to put that up on, can we put that up on the screen? No?
So unfortunately, I don't have it, and I can't put it up on screen, but we do have a copy of the agenda here if anybody wants to just quickly look over if they don't have it in front of them. But it is on the public agenda, so it was what is
Okay.
being circulated.
Yeah, so those are the things that we're looking at and voting on today. Just the exterior portion, the facade basically, and the reconstruction, and the interior dealing mainly with the Tudor arch and steel trusses. Are there any further comments? Okay, so I need a mover and seconder for this motion. Gunnar moving and Jen seconding, thank you. And I'll call the vote, please. All those in favor? And that's carried, thank you. Okay. And now we're moving along to withdrawn via addendum, so we don't have that. And permit approval status update. Are there any questions? Permit reporting to the committee, and that would be at the end of your agenda. Okay, no questions. And verbal update to committee. 169 Union Street. Joel, can we ask you to comment on that, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, Heritage Planning staff have received a written notice of objection to the designation of 169 Union Street under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Staff are currently working to clarify the terms of the objection and will provide further updates as they become available. This objection is required to be presented to Council within 90 days of its receipt, and as such, it's scheduled for the September 5th meeting for Council's consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. All right, are there any questions regarding this verbal update? All right, thank you. Motions, no notices of motion, no other business. Correspondence?
It was on the agenda. Sorry.
Oh, okay. And next meeting is on the agenda, and we need to adjourn. Could I have a mover and seconder to adjourn this meeting? Okay, Peter and Jen, thank you very much, everyone. Oh, and I need to call a vote, sorry. All those in favor? Thank you. Thanks, everybody.